Okay, so, alright, I guess we're going into a part 2. My spirit wishes to elaborate a little more on shape-shifting, and through our history and mythology across, various cultures. One particular story, which is a good example, is of Odin and Frigg. Odin had his birds. He had his ravens, Hugin and Munin, which translate to thought and memory. And Frigg had her magical cloak that were falcon feathers that gave her flight. These are all stories, illustrations of the concept that gifted them the ability to travel the 9 realms. And Odin was always journeying. He had a thirst for knowledge and wisdom. And you can see that through all of the myths and the stories, through the sagas. But again, because they were a shamanistic culture, these are illustrations showing the ability to project one's consciousness into his birds, and they would travel through the 9 realms and gather information and bring it back to him so that he could utilize to help his tribe, to help his family, his community, and to benefit the all of humanity. So that's one example. So now I want to go on where our society now, and you see it in movies, you see the negative connotation. And one prime example is the new Doctor Strange. And you have the Scarlet Witch. She's utilizing the ability to project her consciousness. But they put the twist where she projects her consciousness into another human form. As much as I enjoyed that movie, there were a lot of aspects of her character and the practices that she uses have been demonized, and I don't agree with it, but that's my perspective. Because there are many individuals that utilize these practices still in indigenous cultures for the good of all, for the benefit of all. But you don't hear of it. It's hidden because they are demonized. And humanity doesn't recognize the ability that we have with our consciousness to create magnificent worlds. So anyway, that was just another thought I meant to touch on last night. Again, take it as you will. I don't see it as a manipulation, or I should say, I don't use it as a manipulation. My intention in everything that I practice is for the higher good of all, not just humanity, all the worlds, all the kingdoms, the earth. That's being a steward, that's being a guardian. And these are gifts. These are teachings. These are practices of higher consciousness. It's very hard to use that. And we throw higher and lower out loosely. So I want to talk about the shaman. Shamans have the ability to journey various realms. They have the ability to project their consciousness into a single organism and read that information, to access those records of that species and bring forth that information to help benefit others. It's not about them. It's to create a better world and reality for the future, for healing. So we can see this as, it depends on your perspective. It depends on your beliefs, how all of this can be perceived. In the quantum, people see it as just the quantum field. It's a field, it's just a state that we can tap in and pluck out information. What I'm stating is pure consciousness. Everything has a consciousness. And if we are interwoven, interconnected, come from the great intelligence, if there is just one consciousness, and within that one consciousness is various consciousness, and we all come from that. We can communicate and interact with these other consciousness. But you have to be very discerning and know what you're connecting with. If you're connecting with consciousness and it makes you feel uncomfortable, it's telling you what to do. You're having very unpleasant experiences. There is a necessary need to protect your field, your mind, your heart, your state of being. Excuse me. Those are energies that you do not or shouldn't be working with. But I can't tell you what you should or shouldn't do. This is your free will. This is your reality, your world, your choices and consequences. They're on you. And this is where we can go and look at the past. These are, for me, fundamental truths that have threaded through history. And there have been humans, beings, however, whatever form that consciousness resides in, it did reside in, utilized these fundamental truths for nefarious reasons, for service to self. And right now, we are trying to correct those things, not just for ourselves, but for our future. What we change now changes the future and our future generations. So we can look at it as within this now, I am a descendant, yet at the same time, I'm an ancestor. Because at some point in time, I will be the ancestor to myself. In other myths and cultures, you'll see through various timelines, stories that have been written where there has been a deity, a god, what have you, and you hear of their story. Then in another timeline, you hear of another entity, deity, which is actually the reincarnation of said deity. It's written through many myths and stories. And this goes to whether you believe in reincarnation or not. So what I'm saying is the decisions and choices that we're making within this now, it's seeing the bigger picture. It's going beyond time and space and understanding our choices, our decisions, our actions, our reactions are rippling out and affecting various timelines, various pathways, parallel pathways, alternate universes. So it's being incredibly mindful and saying, okay, these things keep repeating, or they've been a repetitive pattern, not just in my life, but in my bloodline's life, or even in humanity's history. Taking that information, learning from it, receiving the lesson, receiving the gift, receiving the treasure, and carrying that forward. And when you hit a nodal point of choice and you're presented again with a very similar situation, are you going to continue and choose the same path that your ancestors walked? What you've already walked? Or are you going to choose a different path? Are you going to choose a more beneficial path? Because it's not just about you. You are carving and paving a way for a better life for the generations to come. This is all my beliefs. These are my perspectives. I'm not saying anyone has to take that on. Honestly, I will never tell someone what they need to do. I believe in being free, sovereign, autonomous. And we all have the right to choose. And whatever those choices are, there are no judgment. There is no ridicule. I accept it all for what it is. These are my beliefs, my truths. And I'm only sharing this information to present different perspectives, to show a different way than what we've been told, what we've been conditioned, what we've been imprinted. There's so much more than what we've been shown. So I just wanted to add that in and show a few little examples in regards to the shape-shifting. All it is the projecting of consciousness into another form. Projecting and connecting to another consciousness. Exchanging information. Communicating. And the biggest illustration is the mycelial network. It's the oldest, and for me, the most intelligent form of life. And it's woven through this whole earth. And it communicates to everything, even us, and shares information, data, knowledge, healing, stories of old. We have the ability to project ourselves into the tiniest atom and gather that information and see its form, see how it works, observing its function, observing its fundamental base, and how it works within a larger structure. And coming down to the simplest form allows you to see and observe the distortions, the errors within a system in order to course correct. An observation alone, just by witnessing and observing its quantum state, we can change that state. And it's fascinating. I hope this was helpful. I hope it makes sense. And expand beyond. Release everything you've ever known about self and your reality. And the door will open to such an expansion beyond your wildest dreams. That phrase, though, with great power, with great knowledge, comes great responsibility. And that's where free will, free choice comes in. When you're gifted this information, these practices, these skills, these abilities, are you going to use them wisely? Are you going to wield it correctly? Or are you going to use it for service to self, for control, manipulation, subjugation? Are you going to walk the same path that others have? Or are you going to use that information, that knowledge, to create and build something so much better? A foundation that others can build upon generations from now. These are the builder quotes. We are setting the foundations within these now moments. We may not see the structure and what is built upon those foundations, at least in this lifetime. But we all will benefit from it in the future. I send you all off with much love and many blessings on your journeys forward. Take care.